Hello and welcome to the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, October 30th. Hope everyone has some good days so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We have a lot to get into today on a Monday weekend recap podcast as you had games 1 and 2 of the World Series on Friday and Saturday. You also had a ton of college football on Saturday, and yesterday was obviously another full day. Week 8 of the NFL season will wrap up tonight with the Lions and the Raiders. We've got a full night tonight of sports as the Rangers will hit the ice again. The Brooklyn Nets will be in Charlotte to face the Hornets. Rangers wrap up their road trip in Winnipeg against the Jets before coming back home on Thursday to face Carolina for a quick one-game homestand before heading back on the road again to start up a quick 2-game road trip, I believe, in Minnesota. Hit the road again in Minnesota here within the next couple days. After that game at home against Carolina, you've also got the Islanders tonight against the Red Wings. The only New York team tonight when it comes to hockey and basketball that's got the night off is the New York Knicks. So a lot to look forward to. We've got all sports on tonight, NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL. So a great night ahead of us. We've got a lot to recap. We'll start with the New York Jets and the New York Giants, one of the ugliest football games I've ever seen. But at the end of the day, it is very hard to win in the National Football League. The New York Jets got the job done yesterday, 13-10. It was a miracle. I don't know how in the world the New York Jets got the win, but they did. 24 seconds left, no problem, as Zach Wilson stated in his post-game press conference, and he was right. There was no problem with those 24 seconds left as the New York Jets found a way to pull out a victory right as it seemed they were about to lose one of their worst games that we've seen them lose in a very long time, and one of the worst games that Robert Saleh was going to lose. And the New York Jets, 24 seconds left, turn things around, kick the field goal, go into overtime, stop the Giants, kick a field goal for the win. And man, oh man, we walk out of here 4-3. Season is still alive and well. And if you're a Giant fan, you're disappointed today. And if you're a Jet fan, you're celebrating a victory Monday. No matter how they come, it's a win, and a win is a win. So we'll start with that. We'll get into the rest of the NFL action and recap everything today on the pod. So obviously, look, we'll start with the Jets-Giants. It was the battle in New York yesterday. And the reality is, I'll start with this. I'll be blunt. And I'm fired up. The Jets won. We'll get into the Jets' perspective first because they were the winners. And it's you're 4-3. A win is a win. It was ugly, but you take the win. I was telling people all day today because everybody was telling me, oh, it was ugly game, this and that. Oh, you barely won. I don't care. I would take a win like this for the rest of the season over losses like we had against Kansas City where you walked out of there of moral victories, right? Wins in the NFL matter more than moral victories. I would take this type of game every single week. No, it's not good for the health. No, it's not good for the blood pressure or the heart rate. No doubt about it. If you're a fan yesterday of the Jets or the Giants, you probably had a lot of moments where you were screaming, your blood pressure was up there. Because both sides had a lot of frustration, no doubt about it. And the Jets were able to come out on top. But you take these wins, right? It was ugly, but a win is a win. At the end of the day in the National Football League, winning is hard. And anytime you can find a way to come away with a victory, no matter whether it takes a comeback, whether it's a blowout, whether it's close, whether it's a late stop, a late score, whatever it takes, a win is a win. And I've always said that. Never take a W away from a team. There's 2 columns in sports, win and loss. Sure, you got the tie, but nobody wants the tie. Let's be honest here. Ties are stupid. All right, nobody wants the tie. It's a win and a loss. The New York Jets got the win yesterday. They're 4-3. And they're headed in the right direction. And as for the New York Giants, they had an opportunity to save their season, and they couldn't. And now they're 2-6. They already traded Leonard Williams. He's the first of maybe a few names that could be dealt before tomorrow's 4 o'clock Eastern deadline on Halloween in the NFL. We'll talk about it for both the Jets and the Giants' perspective, but a win is a win. You take an actual win over a moral victory like the Jets had against the Chiefs. I'm hearing all these fans today say, oh, it was an ugly win, terrible win. There's no such thing as a terrible win in the NFL. A win is a win. You take it, you move on. You trash this game. You move on. No doubt about it. It was ugly. You move on, and you get ready to face the Chargers on Monday night at home, back in front of your home fans. Although yesterday it was probably 40-60, 45-55 Giants to Jets, I would say. So, the Jets come back from the road trip. Not really a road trip because they were playing in their same building that they always play in for home. But, of course, Jets, Giants both at MetLife, which I'll admit, that stadium's got to be burned down. They got to do something with that turf. I don't know how John Mara and Woody Johnson have not figured that out. They've got to ban the turf. You have another injury to Al Woods. You've had McGovern going down, Schweitzer going down, all these injuries. A lot of it's the turf. You see Waller go down with the hamstring. All these injuries with the turf. It's really disappointing. I don't know how many times you got to see it. It's frustrating. It's unfortunate. Al Woods, torn Achilles. He's done for the year. Stinks to see. He was a really solid run stuffer for us this season. He came in, veteran, did exactly what we've wanted him to do. He goes down, tough loss. Especially a guy at his age, you wonder how he's going to bounce back. Hopefully he can. But it's tough there. But when you go to the Jets' perspective, again, you go into this game as a Jet fan, and although you predict the win, and I predicted them to win this game 17-14, we all knew this was going to be an ugly game. All right, you go into this game, you knew this was going to be an ugly, low-scoring game. You hear Friday, Saturday, you see how the radar is shaping out. It was going to be wet. It was going to be rainy. You've got two good defenses. You've got two backup quarterbacks. Even with Tyrod Taylor coming into this game, the Giants offense playing well. Let's not, overhype their offense either. They came into this game, they scored 14 points last week. A lot of people were talking about the Giants offense, how they're playing really well. They've scored 23 points in the last two games, right? So let's not act like the Giants offense was on this some 60-point tear in the last three games where they were dominating every team. So you knew this was going to be a low-scoring game. I didn't think it would be this ugly. But the New York Jets, their defense found a way. We'll start with the defense because that's the positive. They were all over the field again yesterday. C.J. Mosley, Quincy Williams, all those guys stepping up. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed had guys in jail in the secondary out there. No sense of a passing game whatsoever for the Giants. Even when they tried, there was nobody there. Even for Tyrod Taylor, there was nothing working. -9 passing yards overall. It was brutal for the New York Giants. And the New York Jets did everything they could and everything they should have. Now, there was a lot of penalties. There was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. You had the one Jermaine Johnson penalty. You had the two Quincy Williams penalties. Quincy Williams has been great. He had another really good game yesterday. The penalties can't happen. The Michael Clemens penalty, I think, was probably what made me most frustrated in that game, was that Michael Clemens penalty. 4th and 5, neutral zone infraction. Cannot happen. That's inexcusable. You're lucky the Jets came back to win because you look back at that would have been the turning point in the game because the Jets probably would have gotten the ball around midfield and an opportunity to try and put up some points late in the game as an offense. You're lucky the Jets were able to hold and stop the Giants, but that was a bad penalty. And there was a lot of penalties. No doubt about it. That's got to be cleaned up. But Bryce Huff, Jermaine Johnson, all those guys, again, getting to the quarterback. Bryce Huff, what more do we have to say about this guy? I think we've come out of every single game, and Bryce Huff has been a storyline on defense. Right up there in the NFL in pressures. He's got the highest pressure percentage by a landslide in the NFL. This is truly, you talk about impact players, this is a guy that truly, when he's out there, dominates every single snap because he's not out there a lot. He's not a guy that's going to play every down. He's not an every down player. He's not out there much, primarily in those passing situations. And I thought he was really good yesterday against the run as well, which the one weakness to his game has been against the run. I think he's done a lot better job where he's turned into an all-around great pass rusher this year. Or edge rusher this year, rather, where he can not only get to the quarterback, but he can also contain the outside on those run plays, something we've seen improvement with him this season. He was great again yesterday. Had a sack, getting all over the quarterback, all the pressures. Every game he's making an impact. I feel like every drive you're talking about Bryce Huff, I'm sitting there and saying, there's Bryce Huff again. Bryce Huff. He's unbelievable. And another message to Joe Douglas, get a deal done. Now, some of this could be Bryce Huff saying, hey, I want to play this out. I want to continue to play at a high level and bet on myself and see what I can get from other teams in the offseason. But if I'm Joe Douglas, how much do we need to see out of this? How much more do we need to see out of him for us to give him an extension like we did to JFM during the middle of the year in 2021? As we all remember, the New York Jets walked out of that Tennessee game, gave JFM that extension going into that London game against Atlanta. I would love to see the same thing. Bryce Huff continues to dominate. Jermaine Johnson continues to emerge. Secondary, again, was dominant. I don't really know what the New York Giants are trying to do with their offense. The reality was, this is the reality. You can go back in hindsight 2020. The New York Giants yesterday were playing not to lose. They were handing the Jets this game. They were playing scared. They were not trusting Danny DeVito, which, do you blame them much for trusting Danny DeVito? I mean, not trusting him. And look, he's a third-string quarterback, practice squad. The least they could have done was try to air it out a little bit. Maybe you catch the Jets off guard, taking a deep shot where the Jets aren't expecting it, potentially. But in overtime, I did not know what they were trying to do, throwing it to Barkley every play. On first and 20, second and 20, third and 20, they threw, check downs to Barkley every play. I think they lost a yard. I think it was 4th and 21, and they were punting. I was very confused as to what they were trying to do. I wasn't confused. I knew what they were doing, but they could have tried to at least, I don't know. But either way, I thought the Jets, other than that one run against Saquon where he had the 34 yards, I thought they held up for the most part in the run game. I know you're going to look at the Giants' stats if you're somebody that's just going to look at the box score in this game, which it's not pretty, and you see 203 yards for the Giants rushing offense, you're going to say, oh man, rough day for the Jets defense. Well, that's because the Giants ran the ball 52 times. You're going to rack up probably a lot of yards if you run the ball 52 times in a game. The Giants were basically playing 1960s football, running the ball every play. They had -9 passing yards. They threw the ball 14 times. And even in the passes that they threw, they were primarily short checkdowns with Tommy DeVito. So that was the story for the Giants. Jets did their job. They held up overall defensively against the run. The penalties have obviously got to be cleaned up, but the reality is this team held them to 10 points. And they did exactly what they needed to do. They stopped the team with their third-string quarterback. They did it. They did exactly what they were asked to do. Kept the offense in the game, stopped a really bad offense, and they gave the Jets a chance to win, and we somehow found a way to come out with the victory. Now, again, penalties got to be cleaned up. The one Jermaine Johnson penalty, the 2 Quincy Williams penalties, those can't happen. Those are just undisciplined penalties after the whistle. The one was after the whistle on Quincy Williams. The other one was actually Jermaine Johnson. They blew the whistle was blowing. There was 3 guys on him. No need to run off the edge and hit him. There's just no need. We know how this league works. I've seen a lot of rough in the passer penalties that I've disagreed with. That one was not it. It also can't come on third down. You cannot have third down penalties like that because you're facing a better offense. Those are going to come back to bite you. So that can't happen. But other than that, I thought it was good. Discipline. Defensively, this team this year has been pretty disciplined. So I'm not concerned about it moving forward. I think this was just one of these games where late in the game, defense maybe started to try a little bit. They were obviously seemed a little frustrated. They were maybe trying a little bit hard to, get a turnover, hit somebody hard, make a big play, try and inject some momentum into the team as a whole for the most part, which was dead. I think, also Jets-Giants, rivalry, all that stuff, could have been some of it. So I'm not worried moving forward about the penalties because for the most part, the majority of the penalties, and I don't know the exact breakdown, but from what I've seen, the majority of the penalties have come on offense over defense. There's been a couple penalties on defense that I think we can all agree are a couple of them are bogus. I mean, you go back to that, Chiefs game, were those penalties on defense even penalties? Probably not. But either way, those penalties got to be cleaned up. But all in all, the Jets held them to 10 points. I don't care who the quarterback is. They dominated again yesterday. And even when Tyrod was in, they were dominating. So this defense is one of the best in football. They did their job yesterday. And I also got to give a shout out to special teams. Crazy difference a year makes because, last year coming out of the bye week, the New York Jets lost because of special teams. You had the Marcus Jones punt return by New England to win them the game 10-3. This year was the complete opposite. The New York Jets won this game because of special teams. Thomas Morstead had 5 punts inside, or 4 punts inside the 10 or 20. 3 were inside the 5. 3 punts yesterday inside the 5-yard line. And both teams punted a combined 24 times. And there was a combined 23 points in this game. Specialists, punters, kickers, came up big for the Jets, and for the Giants, it hurt them. Punting and kicking was not good, especially Graham Gano, who missed the 2 kicks, especially the one late, that you can go back and say, oh, Daboll's fault, they should have ran it. You got to trust your kicker to make a 35-yard chip shot. As long as Graham Gano's been in the league, he's got to make that kick. So I will defend Daboll on that. I don't disagree with the call to kick a field goal there, because let's be honest here. He makes that field goal, game's over. It's a 35-yard chip shot. You've got to make that field goal. And if there's someone to blame for the special teams, it's the special teams coach of the New York Giants, because there's been a lot of issues with them. But for the Jets, I mean, you've got to give so much credit. Brant Boyer all the way down. Thomas Morstead's one of the best punters in football. Greg Zuerlein's one of the best kickers in football. I'm not trying to sit here and brag, because look, I love Morstead. I love Greg Zuerlein, but those are guys you don't want to see much. I mean, let's be real here. You only want to see Greg Zuerlein out there for the occasional field goal and a whole lot of extra points, and you don't want to see Morstead out there a lot, because that means the offense is moving. But when we needed them, they stepped up in a big way. Special teams was great. Got to give them a lot of credit. They've improved a lot from last year. I mean, last year, special teams, Zuerlein was good, but it was a disaster when it came to the punt return. I mean, Brady Mann was terrible. He lost us the Lions game. He lost us that Patriots game. It was brutal. Different story with Morstead. He was great yesterday. And you don't have Morstead and Zuerlein, you're probably talking about a completely different result today if you're the New York Jets. So got to give them a lot of credit. They don't get much love. Got to give them a lot of credit today. You move on to the offense. I really don't know how much to say about the offense that hasn't already been said by myself yesterday on my recap podcast, and by a lot of the people today, on the radio and on everybody else's podcasts and all the great Jets content that is out there. The offense yesterday was atrocious. I don't really think there's much else to put it. I will start with the positives before the negatives. Zach Wilson with 24 seconds left was great. You got to give him a lot of credit. For him to step up in that situation, lead them down the field when there was probably clearly no confidence. He was lacking confidence all game. 24 seconds, backs against the wall, not much hope. For him to go out there and put up a drive like that to put the Jets in a position to win or to tie and send it to overtime, where I felt all along the Jets had the advantage just because of their defense, I thought that was big. You got to give him a lot of credit there. Rolling out of the pocket, throwing across body, getting the ball to Lazard. And something else that won't get talked about much, everybody will talk about the field goal and, the Lazard catch and throwing across body, but his ability to learn from his mistake 3 weeks ago in Denver, where they missed the spike before halftime, go out there and spike with exactly 1 second. So got to give him a lot of credit there as well. Also the center, Xavier, the center for the Jets, who obviously the first play was ugly. I mean, the first snap was brutal. He snapped it to him sideways. Can't beat the guy up too much. I mean, I think Saul called him X today, Xavier Newman. I've been calling him Xavier Newman this entire time. Xavier Newman. You can't blame him too much for that. I mean, it was his fault, but I mean, the guy's the third-string center. He's like the third-string guard, third-string center. He was out there. I knew that was going to happen. I had a feeling that fumble was going to happen. It did. So those were some of the positives. The late game situation, rolling Zach out of the pocket. I continue to say, roll him out of the pocket, let him throw deep. They got to take chances. He didn't handle the blitz very well. I thought he's not quite there yet with his game where he's able to throw for, he's not able to progress rather and make the throws when the game condenses. Like when teams don't blitz him and he's between the 20, he's very good. But once he gets inside the 20 and the field becomes quick and mistakes become, you can't make as many mistakes. Like your mistakes are going to become more noticeable because the field's shortened and it's quicker and you got to be faster and all that stuff. He struggles with that. Same thing when it comes to the blitz. When the blitz comes at him and he doesn't have much time, he doesn't get the ball out fast enough. I thought yesterday was a little bit of a step back for Zach Wilson, no doubt about it. Again, the late game situation was great, and you hope he can carry that momentum and carry it into the Chargers this upcoming Monday night, a week from today, where their defense is not very good. You faced a good defense yesterday in the Giants. You did. and we knew they were going to blitz. He does not do well with pressure. So you hope he can learn from this. I thought we saw a lot of old Zach Wilson where he missed a lot of those throws. He had the one throw where he spiked into the ground to Breece Hall. I liked how he used his legs on the one run. I thought he took that one bad sack on 4th and 20. That cannot happen. Those are all things you got to learn. Unfortunately, the sacks and those missed throws are just going to happen from time to time because he's just a little inconsistent. That's all. He's inconsistent. He's a backup quarterback, right? You know what? That's what he is at this point. He's a backup quarterback in the NFL. He's not the number 2 overall pick anymore that is expected to be this big guy that can dominate. He's just not. He's got to be a lot better, though. I also think coaching, too. 3rd down conversion's got to be way better. I mean, for both teams. I mean, let's be honest here. 3rd down conversion yesterday was brutal. They went 2 of 15. I think for Zach, again, those short throws, he's got to hit those, get the ball to your tight ends. Even for Hackett, roll him out of the pocket. We say this all the time. Roll him out of the pocket. Give him some design runs. Zach Wilson, for the 100th time, I will always say this, and this is on Hackett to do this. He's not a pocket passer. He's not a guy. This is why he doesn't handle the blitz well, because he's not good at making the short, quick throws and going through his progressions fast. He's a guy that wants to buy time, can roll out, and make throws on the run. When he's not thinking as much, those are when he makes those big plays. That's what happened in the under 24 seconds. That throw to Lazard, he was on the run, cross body across the middle. Like, that is not an easy throw to make. He can make those throws because he's got a ton of arm talent. Use that. They did it against Kansas City. I don't know why the Jets have gone away from that. Just because you were down 17-0 against the Chiefs, then you open up the playbook. Go back to that. Let it rip. Go out there and let him throw the ball deep. Roll him out of the pocket. Take chances. Take risks. You have Garrett Wilson. Send him on a go. Xavier Gibson got speed. Send those guys deep. Take chances. You know, they don't do that enough. The more creativity. I'm not saying a double flea flicker reverse, but a little bit more creativity, a little bit more movement in the offense. Simplify things. Roll them out. Put a tight end in a flat. Get a guy right in front of him. Those are the things Hackett's got to do a better job with. 3rd and 1, and I understand it was a bad throw by Zach. Terrible throw. He spiked it to a wide-open Breece Hall. But why are you running empty backfield when you have one of the best running backs in football in Breece Hall on 3rd and 1? They went an empty backfield, shotgun, Zach spikes it in the ground. Zach's got to execute, but why is that even on the play call list on 3rd and 1? Why? I mean, sure, I'm okay with a pass play, but why are you going empty backfield? Well, what was that? Put a fullback in there. Let Breece run it. You know what? Have balls. Run it. If he doesn't get it, it's an inch away. Quarterback sneak it. Go for it on 4th down. Sometimes you got to think, okay, 3rd and 1, 4-down territory. If we can run it here and we get it, great. If we don't and if we're an inch short, go for it. Take chances. So it's crazy that Garrett Wilson yesterday still had 7 catches for 100 yards. Breece Hall had 12 carries. Got to have a lot more than that. I know teams stack the box. They're going to expect to run. I get it. Got to have a lot more than that. I think the Jets, by this deadline, should add another receiver. In my opinion, I think, Renfro, somebody. We'll see. Renfro will play tonight against the Raiders. We'll see if anything happens where we see a trade. But those are my thoughts with the offense. Simplifying it. Zach's got to be better, obviously, but let it rip. Let it rip. I've said this for weeks now. I still don't know why they don't do what they did against Kansas City. It worked. Let it rip. Try it. Give it a shot. Let him throw deep. You at least give yourself a chance. And Zach's also got to learn that too. That 4th and 20, don't take a sack there. If you throw it up, even if it's in coverage, you give yourself a chance for a pass interference. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. The saying by Wayne Gretzky is so true. Simple but true. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You take a sack on 4th down, it's terrible. You can't let that happen. Got to throw the ball away. Or throw the ball deep. In that case, you can't throw the ball away. Throw it deep, Take a chance. I mean, let's be honest here. You throw it deep 30, 35 yards downfield, and it gets picked, it's almost the same as a punt happening. It's almost the same thing as if you punt. It's not the end of the world. Sure, it hurts the box score, but let's be honest. If it's for the betterment of the win and the betterment of the team, take a chance. In terms of throwing the ball deep, you have a better chance of getting a 1st down pass interference catch, something, than taking a sack on 4th and 20. Just can't happen, especially in that moment of the game. So, lots got to be cleaned up on offense. You have 8 days, now you have 7, but you have an extra day, which is nice. I think a lot of this, you trash this film. I think you look ahead, and I hope that Rodgers and these guys can kind of tell Hackett, hey, man, get back to what was working for him. Rolling out of the pocket. That perfect end game situation was great. And look, you want to run up tempo too. He seems to do better as well up tempo. Again, he does better when he's not thinking. Like when he's not thinking and he can just go out there and kind of be fast and roll out and throw the ball, that's when he's better. Now, you can't run up tempo for the entire game. It's just not sustainable. You can't do that. You're going to wear your offense out. You're going to wear your defense out because they're going to be on the field a ton. Your offense, it's just not sustainable for the offensive lineman running up to the ball up tempo. But you can go up tempo every once in a while. Hackett could give him 2 plays, say, hey, you get a quick completion here, get up to the line, go up tempo. Get another quick completion. Boom, first down. Right, then you can go back to normal, then up tempo, right? They can mix it in up tempo. I mean, to the people out there saying, oh, run up tempo all the time, I disagree with that. You can't do that the entire game. It's not sustainable. You can't do that. But you want to do it for a drive, you want to do it for a couple plays, say, hey, up tempo here. Give them 2-3 plays. You get a completion, 7 yards, boom, go for another play. You get a first down, boom, another completion. Then you start to put together some yards. You start to wear the defense down a little bit. I'm all for that. Not sustainable for a whole game, but you can do that and try and put up some points that way. There's ways to be competent on offense. Creativity. Let's see it. We'll see. Giants were terrible. No doubt about it. Offense was awful. Traded Leonard Williams today. So Leonard Williams, Jamal Adams, Geno Smith. It's basically the Seattle former Jets is what we like to call them now with the Seahawks. It's a bunch of former Jets over there in Seattle now. Leonard Williams, 9th year of his NFL career, has played all of them in New York between the Jets and the Giants. He now heads across the country to Seattle. Perfect example of how life comes out fast to you in the NFL. He probably has not even changed departments from the Jets and the Giants, considering he, same team, same obviously state and stuff like that. He now will move on to Seattle. If I'm the Giants, I'm on the phone for Barkley. Probably doesn't come back next year. I'd take a chance. Get something for him now if you don't bring him back next year. They got a 2nd-round pick, which is a prime area for a running back. Do the Giants use that pick for a running back, move on from Saquon? I would not be against trading Saquon. Look, your season's not going anywhere. You won that game yesterday. They had a chance. But your season is just about dead at this point at 2-6. So, we'll see what the Giants do there. In terms of Dable, I didn't necessarily disagree with the field goal. I will say this. I do not know why he took the ball to start overtime. I did not understand that. I actually was rooting for the New York Jets to lose that toss because I wanted the Giants to get the ball because I knew if the Giants got the ball, it favored the Jets because they can get a stop. They can win the field position battle, play the field position game. You knew the Giants were just going to keep throwing it or running it to Barkley and not going anywhere, and it played into the Jets' hands perfectly. Giants elect to defer there. Jets get the ball. We probably are talking about a different result now because the Giants then play the field position battle. It's probably reversed. So I did not understand that. I think that was probably really bad. That was really bad. That's situational game awareness. I know your defense just came off the field and stuff, but I don't know. That crowd would have been behind them. I probably wouldn't have taken the ball there. I probably would have given it to the Jets. Then again, he might have just said, hey, they just went down 40 yards here in 24 seconds and kicked the field goal. That could have been his mindset too, but at the end of the day, Jets win, and that's all that matters. So W's a W, take the win, move on, and get ready for the Chargers on Monday night at MetLife next week. So that's all we got for the Jets-Giants. A couple other games. Panthers over Texans. Bryce Young defeats number 2 overall pick C.J. Stroud. Cowboys all over the Rams. Vikings, a brutal blow to Kirk Cousins. Really stinks. Brutal blow for him. We knew he wasn't going to get traded to the Jets, but if there was any possibility of that happening, we knew he wasn't going to waive his no-trade clause, and with the Vikings playing better, when they started to play better, we knew it was out the window, and it's especially out the window now. Brutal loss for him. Brutal loss for that Vikings team. They were finding ways to win without Justin Jefferson. Big division win. They were starting to get hot. Kirk Cousins, great leader. They play hard for him. 4-4 now. Tough blow for them. We'll see if they make any moves here over the next couple hours into tomorrow's trade deadline. And Eagles over the Commanders. The tush-push didn't work. They fumbled it, actually. Then they did a fake tush-push. Eagles win that game. Chargers all over the Bears on Sunday night. Niners, Brock Purdy continues to struggle against the Bengals. That is now 3 straight losses. Their bye week comes at a very good time. They are reeling right now. They need a bye week. And for the Bengals, they're getting hot. And they face the Bills on Sunday night next week at home. That's a big, big game. Exciting game. That's going to be a great Sunday night game. We went from Chargers, Bears to Bengals, Bills on Sunday night next week. Definitely look forward to that. So that'll do it for the Bubbs on Sports podcast today. We'll have a lot more content coming your way. Jets win, take the W, victory Monday. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.